What's up, guys? Welcome back to another stream of Ferrous Block. How are you all feeling today? I would say I'm feeling fantastic, but honestly, I've been kinda sick lately. So, fantastic's probably not the best word to describe me, but, you know, I'm getting over it. I'm glad that everybody else is feeling groovy, deciding to jump in, join me, play along. So folks, I think I'm rapidly hitting the point that I come to in every modded Minecraft pack where I am running out of things to do that I'm interested in doing. This pack has been pretty righteous. I've loved what I've done in it, and also the quest book has really helped to focus me because it gave me a bunch of things that I could look at to try to do. But honestly, I've hit the point where they're just, the last few things to do are not terribly interesting to me because they're mostly just very grindy. They would take a long time, but I'm going to show you how, if you wanted to do stuff yourself, a pretty nifty way to automate the last couple of steps for the pack. And then also, there are a couple of them that I do want to check out and do today together with you. So, fantastic. Let's jump off. Let's start with a little bit of a review. Here's everything that we have done, right? So this is kind of where we started. And we started with the strainers, getting some basic resources up and going. You know, we put stuff into chests originally, but then we developed the storage drawer network that we could throw things into. But this is kind of where you start with the pack. You start with the basic string ones to get you some stuff. To get into that, of course, we had to do the trees. We also had to figure out how to make kelp, so that we could make the Neptunium. This was like the super starter stuff that we did. Which, of course, as you'll remember, there's a long chain of quests here in the beginning of the pack that tells you how to do everything that you need to do. And if you're not silly like me, and you just play in the normal pack, of course, you don't even have to do this because you start with an iron tree and a couple other things available to you. From there, we just kind of went out in all directions, right? We made a mob farm that was kind of functional, kind of not functional, that we had to fix a few times. Started getting some of the machines together, mostly started growing things, right? This is representative of all of the crops that we've chosen to grow inside this version of the pack, right? So a bunch of flowers, the basic resources, you know, wither roses, some of the gobber things, these golden, arcane gold nuggets are still going, and also the botany pots are still going, and trees, lots of trees. Started out with one of the basic trees, but mostly the iron tree, and then just kind of spiraled out from there to have all of the other trees. You can see how much my FPS drops just staring at this thing, right? We got all that together. We are now growing every sapling type thing that can be grown inside of these pots is being grown. So we've definitely accomplished any goal I had there. In fact, most of these are actually done and full of stuff. We just don't have anywhere to store them because I didn't leave these on infinite because I thought they would stop eventually, but they don't. So honestly, I should probably just set these ones to being infinite, but whatever. All these that we've grown have stopped. Several of these have stopped, not all of them though. I did discover kind of a weird thing that happened, which I don't really know if would happen to you, right? But I had to come in here and like reset some of the items, and it looks like they've gone again. If you pull everything out of these drawers, they're not currently holding their inventories very well, so occasionally you might have to come over here and, like, you know, you can see this one's filling up again, right? So I'll have to take some of this down and just be like, yo, it goes here, and then once I do that, it'll start importing it again, and then you'll see it start to show up here. Yeah, you can see there, it just added one of the little shards. I've had to do that a couple of times, so not super great the way that I did it, I guess, but I don't really know how else I could have done it without using the intermediary, based on the speed that stuff is coming in. Unless I wanted to develop, like, devote a crafter to each individual product, because otherwise it would get cramped up with one of the products and wouldn't be able to accept anything else. So yeah, that's just mods being new in 1.15, unfortunately. Eventually those kinds of things will get worked out, and then everything will be like it was in the previous editions, but, you know, that was much later, though, obviously, because we had to move into the bees. That was one of the next things after we started growing a lot of crops. Had to get honey and things like that, and eventually I was able to, you know, I could have figured out a way to automate this with maybe some block placers, automatic users, that kind of thing, but instead I just kept on manually doing it until I had what I needed, and then I stopped. Because it wasn't anything I needed in a great number, you know, like 4 stacks of honey, that's not that difficult to get. It's time consuming, sure, but it's not very hard. After that, we had to mess around with Botania stuff some. So you can see everything that I did here. Pure daisies to make the blocks. We eventually got a really basic mana setup and then a very advanced mana setup. Once again, if you want full details on this one, because I didn't really go over it that much, check out Scotto Motto on YouTube. He's the guy that I looked at. And this is pretty much, aside from me changing the circuitry a little bit because I wanted it to look more symmetrical for my tastes, this is basically his design. So I just made it a little bit more symmetrical because I like the way that that looks. I didn't want it to be like kind of wrapped around itself like it is in his video, which his takes up way less space than mine, so it's much more compact, uses less resources, so but yeah, just to my taste. And then what was next? I'm really trying to figure out. There was a lot of machine work that happened kind of behind the scenes. I had to set up a bunch of stuff. I upgraded the machines. We had to go to the different dimensions because I needed lots of lava, and the first couple of things of lava went directly into making obsidian so that we had a nether portal up and running. But eventually we got that together and we were able to go to the nether, fight all the nether mobs, get all the stuff we needed to fight withers, and get nether stars, which are a big part of this pack. And that actually leads me to transition into something that will be different for you than it is for me. So in the base pack, at least the version that I did when I was messing with it, nether stars are not craftable in the base pack with the mystical agriculture. Like, you can't grow the nether star seeds. They're not available. I undid that change and made them back available because this is another one of those things where I felt like the pack pushed you in this direction. Like, it was a big deal to get into mystical agriculture. Like, the recipes were harder than normal to be able to get into, and looking at how many nether stars are required for the later amount of stuff, especially the amount of nitro crystals that you have to craft, I did not want to have to kill withers or grow enough wither skulls, do a big setup to be able to get nether stars that much, which is why I just made these craftable. Either one of those things is infinite. I could have set up one of the mob farms and just waited a long time till I could get these ultimate ones, put a wither skeleton into it, got wither skulls that way, and then used the nether gobbers to make infinite wither stars. So if both things could be infinite, I don't really see the difference in the pack and me just turning this back on, especially with the difficulty that it takes to enter into mystical agriculture because of the changed recipes. I really felt like this was just kind of a missed opportunity on the mod pack author's part, since he pushed you this direction for him to just let you exploit it. And since it would still just be time either way to get infinite nether stars, I just went with the way that was not really more convenient, but like I liked more. I find this more aesthetically pleasing than having a bunch of mob farms and using up a bunch of the nether gobber stuff to be able to make wither stars, or nether stars. So yeah, that's what I did. That transitions into the only other change that I made, because there was exactly one other change that I had to make to the pack as far as stuff goes. So you see how we had to make all of this this mechanism stuff. At some point it was required for us to get into at least the metallurgic infusers, but I went a little bit further and did a couple of the other machines just to get myself a little bit of a basic setup. Never got really into it, and that's probably confusing some of you if you've played this pack, because I have upgrades. In the basic pack, Atmec Osmium Dust. This stuff right here. There's only 2 ways to craft this in the pack with my changes. The first way is putting an osmium ingot into a crusher, turning it into a dust. This is the basic way that you do it in Mechanism, and also I want to point out that every other ingot in the pack, every single one that you get, you can just put into a crusher or a pulverizer or whatever equivalent machine, and then you can get the dust out of it. However, for this dust, which is only really used to make like some ornamental blocks that have a certain look to them, and then also to make those upgrades. I think that's really like the only other thing that it does. Yeah, this, to make the speed upgrades. That's all this dust does. The mod author was like, how about you have to go through the whole Mechanism times 5 ingot setup to be able to get this dust? And I wasn't about that life. Maybe, I don't really know why the mod author made this choice. For those of you that are unfamiliar, in the mod Mechanism, you can eventually make a setup, this massive, monstrous conglomeration of machines that could turn 1 ore into 5 ingots. So you can quintuple the amount of output that you get just from mining the 1 ore. And you know, that's cool in any pack that doesn't have mystical agriculture or anything like that, where you can generate infinite resources. But this pack starts off with Ferrous trees, like, that just infinitely give you ingots and blocks, and you can put them in bonsai pots. If you're gonna have something that enables you to just infinitely get all of the metals without any effort on your part, I don't know why the mod author took the route of being like, this one dust, which is only used in making upgrades, nah, you can't have that. That's something that I'm gonna outlaw. So I just made it to where you could turn the ingot into dust. Since the ingot, again, already has like a weird special recipe, right? Because you have to, this is how you have to get it in the pack. You have to compress Gobber ingots into 1 osmium ingot. I'm like, that's already more hassle than the basic pack. So why then would I have to go through this whole process? Which, I mean, like, I could scroll through the machines, but I swear to you, it's like, there's 30-something steps to be able to finish out this process. All these different machines that have to go back and forth, and you have to transfer gases and liquids and energy and everything else, and the items themselves around through all the different machines. It's big, it's cumbersome, and it's complex, and it's worth it if you don't have something that lets you do it otherwise. But if I had to go through that process, I just wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have had speed upgrades in all of my machines, and I would have just I would have used the Mechanism stuff as little as possible, because that's what I'd rather do than go through this big 30-step process that's not useful for me in any other way. So I just changed that. That's the only 2 changes that I had to make to the pack to suit my tastes, which was really just going into the config files for the editing that he did for the data pack and just undoing, like, getting rid of those 2 files that he changed. So it wasn't a great difficult process for me. Then, let's see, what did we do next? I mean, like, there was a lot of machines. We had to get these up and going so that we could get some of the nitro crystals. Eventually we made this big reactor that just, like, infinitely churns out power so fast. A little bit of a setup to generate us plastic. We started automating stuff after we got the mystical agriculture stuff up and rolling. We started messing with some of the higher tier machines. I built a yard. And then yeah. Okay, so that kind of brings us up to today. Today, the very last thing that we did last episode was we broke into some of the Project E stuff. Now, I have this energy condenser chest set up to where it's just automatically getting every gas tier that comes into the system from the 2 farms down below and pumping them into it, so it makes dark matter blocks. And then I've put a bunch of dark matter blocks in here, and I've generated, like, 2 billion EMC. So that's where we're currently at. And then as I was looking around, I did one more quest without you, which was this one, getting to the green table. And then after I did that and saw that there was no reward, I got to this one, and this is where you get red matter. So you have to make the ultimate auto crafting table to be able to do that. So I went over here, messed with the crafting stuff to get a whole bunch of patterns put in place. I also set up stuff down here on the machines. We'll get to this in a minute. Don't worry about it. That's for later. And so now I should be able to just order, or almost order, one of those auto crafting tables. There's one other thing that's required for it that I don't have automated, and that is these crystalline components. Everything else should be good, but these require 2 of the crystalline ingots each, which requires using the elite crafting for this recipe. So you can see here, for each one of those ingots, I need 8 monosteel, 4 osmium ingots, 4 prosperity ingots, 2 nether stars, and then 10 of the gobber ingots, which we definitely have all the materials for. I just need to gather them, craft up those crystalline ingots real quick, and then we can get on our merry. So let me just get this up in my head again. 10 of the gobber ingots, gabber, which I already have some of, so I'll just pull that out. I need to make, how many did I say? It's 2 per, so 4 total, so I'd need 40 of this, since it was 10 per. And then 8 monosteel times 4 would be 32. And you just pull out half a thing there. And then do I have any prosperity? I don't have any of the ingots made up, but that's not terribly difficult to make. This is the recipe: prosperity shards and iron ingots. So we'll get, so we need 4 times 4, 16. Osmium we should have plenty of. Yep. And I'll need the same amount of that. And then, what else? I need the nether stars, obviously. 8 of those. And then just the monosteel, right? Or no, I got that. Is that it? Gobber, monosteel, osmium, prosperity, and the nether. 5 total things? 5 total things. Okay, so let's step over here. And we should just be able to, like, bam this in. But no, of course not. Alright, so let's do... And then it was... Is it all the way apart? I think this added another row, so I don't think it's, like, all the way apart like that. Yeah, that's how far apart it needs to be. And then prosperity, osmium, and wither stars, nether stars. And then boom, there we go. That's the crystalline ingots. And then I think from there, if I put that in, I think everything else is auto craftable. So let's see if I can get it done. Auto. No, it's missing the redstone component. I do actually have to make the crystalline component. So what is the rest of it? Luminescence and black iron slates. And then the redstone one, I'm imagining, is something similar. Yeah, luminescence, redstone ingots. I think I can tell it. I told it how to make that. I think it should be able to do that. Let's get us some coffee. Delicious. processing it right now. Good. And then I'll need to make up some of the slates here. Like 4. And then also the luminescence. For that. So that's just a crafting thing, so that's nothing special for it to make. The main thing that takes out on this is the processing time. It takes so long to make this stuff. The machines are too slow. So I make 2 of those, and then 2 of those. Okay, so then everything else it should know what to do. So if I tell it to make the auto table, it should be able to do it. So yeah, you can see here, this is the full process. This is everything that the machines have to go through in order to make the table. I could sacrifice the 1 ultimate table that I have crafted so far to speed the process up a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to, so there is just going to be some time that's spent here with it crafting these. And you can see these have exclamation points on it saying that the machine doesn't accept the item. That's just basically because the machine is already full. It's not able to accept the item until it processes one. So that's not really anything to worry about. This is the task that it's currently working on. So yeah, let's go and I'll explain what's going on down here. So the one last thing that I have going on other than making the ultimate crafting table to get the red matter is singularities. In the game, there are 22 singularities that you can make. Not counting the ultimate one. Like, there's 22 that you have to process up, right? Because the ultimate one is just put all of the ones into an ultimate crafting table. That's how you get the ultimate ones. Which, if you look here, these are the things that it's used for. So it makes the ultimate ingots, and it's also used in the recipes for the dragon armor, for the Tome of Knowledge, and making the ultimate ingots, which is also a crafting component for the ultimate component, as well as used in the dragon armor. Now, me personally, I'm not going to do this. The ultimate armor, I don't think is necessary. There's no boss in the pack that you need that level of protection to go and fight. And since there is another way for me to get creative flight through the powers, the everlasting abilities, I just didn't see the need for me to make the dragon armor, even though it's one of the final quests. It doesn't give you any rewards. There's no reason for you to make it other than just to be like, oh, I made it, I'm awesome. And the other super thing about it is that I have infinite resources at this point. Like, everything that's used to make these singularities, I can make as many of as I want to. So if we agree that I have infinite resources, I could make it on my whim, then I feel like I completed it anyways, even though I'm not going to fill out the quest book. But if I was going to, this is how I would do it. So if you look here, most of the items that are used to make the singularities have an EMC value. Personally, I think the singularities should just all have EMC values, because it is just like you take 100,000 of this item and then it turns into these singularities. That's really all there is to it. If you wanted to add in like the value of the machine and the value of the ultimate catalyst, then sure, you could. But this is just 100,000 aluminum compressed down. That's all that is. So it should have the EMC value of 100,000 aluminum, my personal idea. If I had made this pack, that's kind of where I would have gone. Because doing this once is okay. Doing this like again, let's look at this recipe for the Tome of Infinite Knowledge. Doing an Ultimate Singularity like, I don't even know, 20, 30 times, whatever that is. Nah, boy, not for me. So yeah, all the ones that have EMC values, like the aluminum, I think the bonsai pots don't, but they should, because they have, like, they're just made out of clay. I don't know why they have, because I guess the mod pack author stripped the EMC values off the flower pots for some reason. But anyways, all the ones that have EMC values, you can just Project E them up. So if you do exactly what I did here, which I'll show you, we're going to set one of them up so you can see what I'm talking about after we get the red matter. Basically, you just set one of these up to where it's going to output aluminum, and then you have it funneled into one of those crafters down there. And then you'll have that. So let's check on our status here. Still 77 of these. I'm telling you, those machines, they're real slow. I wish they were slightly faster. But basically, you do that. For the ones that don't have that, like the bonsai pot singularities, you can just make a separate farm for those, and it's not a big deal. Like if we go up here and we grab ourselves, what are they grown in? They're both grown in the actual botany pot. So if we get 2 of these and then 1 more of each, and then we make ourselves some hoppers, this is how you set these up, and it's all Gucci, right? Because they only have 1 output. So do I just have 1? So I'll need to make it's chosen to use the emerald logs, only the finest components for my hoppers here. Yeah, here's how you do these singularities, right? The ones that don't have EMC. Bam. Bam. And then let's go get some bedrock, because of course we might as well just grow it. I mean, go all out, right? This is the finest materials only allowed for these end of game projects. You need them to move as quickly as they possibly can. Put that in there. Put that in there. And then, huh. And, huh. And you can see it's going to put them in one at a time. And then if I fed power to this, it would be making the singularities over time, right? Which I actually meant to feed power to this. I'm surprised I didn't already do that. Let's get out a flux. Flux. Flux point. Oh, by the way, I switched over to the nitro cables because they keep connection with this. They don't lose connection. So yeah, there we go. Now all these are getting power. And did I even make the reactor sweat? Nah, it didn't even lose really any of its max power. And that's me transferring that much energy all at once. No big deal. But yeah, you can see it. That's easy. That's what you do for those, right? So the other ones that don't, like the bedrock, I mean, same thing. Grow bedrock on top of these. Copper. You could grow the copper and do it that way, but I mean, if you can EMC it, that's probably the better way to go. It's more expensive, but it would definitely be faster. And as soon as we can get some of that red matter into the machine, I'll show you how. Because I'd want to do it with the tier 2 ones personally. Diamonds, same way, they have an EMC value. Glowstone. Inferium Essence doesn't, so you can do exactly the same thing. Just grow the Inferium crops. Like, just like I'm doing here. Right? Just grow those. I mean, you can auto-insert them if you want to, but for me, for my preference on the way that I like to do things, this is the type of system that I would like to set up and forget until I need it, right? So basically how I would do it is I would do this, set up each one to where it's just automatically going to process one singularity, and then I'd have them imported into the system from the bottom, and then I would set up storage drawers for each singularity. And I mean, like, maybe I would just do, I'd probably do the 2x2s, and however many of those I need to get 22 of them. So I guess what it would be around 6. 6 to do. Because 6 times 4 would be 24. So yeah, I would need 6 of these. And then just over time they would fill up and be done. And then I would just have them whenever I need them. So if I needed to make an ultimate singularity, I would just come down and be like, oh, let's grab one of each and put it in. Let's see where we at. 26 of these. I want to get this done, and then I'm going to show you the other half of it. Because basically this system, but the tier 2 energy condensers are better. They operate better, they're faster. And then you just set up a mob farm that runs it. I mean, same way I'm doing with that one, right? You just come down here, make yourself another one of those ultimate mob farms like these, and just have stuff put into it. Or any crop that has an EMC, you could do the same thing with. So if you find it more valuable to use, lapis or diamond crops or stuff like that, you can. Uraninite has an EMC of 256, and it grows super quick. Super duper quick. Like, it's the one crop over here that I actually have just going into my storage system that, like, it's always full. Because, like, if I take this out, you see how quickly that's filling up already? Just like that. And I mean, it's only 256 EMCs, so it's definitely less than the gas tiers. But yeah, you can see how just obviously quick that is. So if you want something that's very low maintenance that would just work, that'd be a perfect thing to put into a system like this. And I'm just going to flush that because I don't need it. Yeah, as soon as these hit 100,000, they'll make the singularities. And boom. You would have infinite singularities. No problem. I don't think... I mean, most of these things just have an EMC value. Like, steel does... Silver doesn't for some reason. Because it's an ingot, so it should, but it doesn't. But, I mean, you can craft it with silver essence, so you can do exactly the same thing that I'm doing over there. Just have it auto-crafted and then dropped into the system. Platinum... Yeah, it has an EMC value. The plastic doesn't, but the system that I showed you over here would work the same way over there as it does over here. You just basically have the fluid extractors on either side of a block placer that's placing logs. Iron logs are the best for this if you're going to set up this system. They have the highest efficiency, they give the most latex, or some combination of that. I've got infinite water tank hook up to a sink over here that funnels into the latex processing unit that's just always full and pumping out stuff as quickly as it can. In previous editions of Industrial Foregoing, you could upgrade these machines to where they would be faster, but in this version, I'm guessing it just isn't implemented yet. Cannot put any speed or processing upgrades inside of here, so that's just as fast as it's ever going to be. I could put them inside of the latex, the fluid extractors. Like, I could put one here, but I couldn't put one here. And also, I tried out the efficiency tier 1, 2, and then the speed tier 1 and 2, and this seemed to be the fastest. And then again, I'm just, auto-crafting it into the dry rubber and then having that automatically pushed into an extended furnace that has enough efficiency upgrades that it costs no power. I could have this moving faster if I needed to, but since it comes out of there so slowly, I don't need this to be any faster. It's never got more than one in it at a time. Jump back up here and... Oh! It is done. It is done. Yes. Give me... my red matter. And then we will teach our table how to make red matter. And then we'll immediately teach it how to make a red matter block. And then I will immediately switch this over to red matter blocks. Because that's now like the highest DMC thing I can craft. And then I needed the red matter to make the energy condenser Mark II. which it itself does not have an EMC value, which I find kind of annoying, honestly. Because each one of these that you make, you have to make, right? But for now, let us dump the EMC so that I can recraft this. Or we'll just craft a new one. What do they take again? The Ender Star. So I guess that's why I had it up here in the... We'll get rid of that stuff since we're done with it. Dark Matter blocks, and then the Alchemical Chest. The Alchemical Chest has an EMC value, so I made that no problem. So the Ender Stars, that was a Nether Star and 4 Eyes of Ender. I feel like I'm just going to tell it to make like 60. Oh no, it doesn't have enough of that. Blaze. See, I've got a lot of blaze. I don't know why I haven't just processed it. Can I process it using... No, none of the stuff that I want to. I can process it in the Crushinator. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and put like a big order of that in. Well, that's the compressor. Dissolution alloy smelter. I guess I haven't automated a crusher yet. I definitely have a crusher. I need at least 16. Do we make EMC off of this? I'm gonna get... I think we actually make EMC in this exchange. Now that I'm sitting here and looking at it. So the normal blaze rod, it is 1,536. And so you can, if you just like break it in your hand on a crafting table or in your own crafting inventory, you get 2, right? And the stack for that is 1,536. So if you have a machine that can process this into 4, which we do, that's what this machine does, then we're actually making double the EMC return on doing this. So, another handy tip if you want to just make free EMC, set up a mob farm for blaze rods, and then put all your blaze rods into a crusher, and you'll make double your return on EMC, if you need that tip. Oh, and just to get the full 4 stacks, I'm going to put that back in there. Just offhandedly discover ways to exploit the pack. Not even what I'm looking at. Crazy. So yeah, not T, I. Make me 16 of those. Yes. And then Nether. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And then we can make another energy condenser using 4 dark matter blocks. And then we can make a Mark II. And then we'll just basically replace this. I'm gonna stop the insertion very quickly and then find something to convert it into. Honestly, can it convert into gas tiers? No problem. I think that's a lot of gas tiers, so I'm gonna have it go ahead and do the dark matter first. There we go. Since everything that was put into it was gas tiers, it should convert into gas tiers, no problem. Yep, 0 out. Alright. Then we'll take this real quick, because I'm going to want to upgrade it, of course. And then we'll pull out of here 4 of these. And 3 more of those. Yeah, that's 1 too many. And then... bam. So we'll put it right back in there. And do exactly what we did to it a second ago. And just set it to red matter. Put in all the gas tiers that we pulled out, and then tell it to export again. So yeah, basically, how this differs is that you have an input and an output, and also it moves between the two way faster. Now, for this particular application where it's really just like the one thing going into it, it's not that big a deal. If you were doing like a bunch of smaller stuff though, it would be, which is why I say that if you were going to put these kind of setups down there, doing the compressor stuff, you'd want to have these Mark IIs. Because if you input a gas tier into this and tell it to output aluminum ingots, it would output them so quickly that your chest would fill up very, very fast. Because you can see like I think the EMC on those aluminum was something like, oh no, that went crazy. Get out of here. Ferrous aluminum, like this one, it only has an EMC of 32. So the gas tiers are worth 4,000. So I'm not going to do the math there, but you can see how many blocks that would be. And each one that gets put into it would produce them. So you would want this thing to differentiate between the input and the output, so that way the input could still go on while the output was full or not able to process. And you'd want the output on this to be very, very quick, just so you could keep up with that infinitely. But yeah, so that being said, we'll get this finished up. I will set up one of these very quickly, and then that'll probably be the last thing that we do in this pack. So let's pull out 4 of the dark matter, 4 more of the dark matter, and then 4 of the red matter. So use, blam, blam, and then we'll do that to get the Mark II. Fantastic. And then let's see, emeralds are kind of like a 1-for-1 exchange, I think. Emeralds are 4,500, so it actually takes like two gas tiers would produce one of these. But we'll go with the good old classic. Let's do diamonds, right? Diamonds have an EMC value of 2.25k. So we'll set those up. And then, again, the crafting recipes for these ultimate mob farms. Let's take a look at these. Here it is. So shulker boxes, the Inferno mob farms, you have to go down a big crafting chain to get these, obviously, and then elytras is the main problem. The ultimate mob farms, or the Inferno ones, they actually have an EMC value, so if you craft one of these, you could then craft these infinitely. Shulker box have an EMC value, Dragon's Breath has an EMC value, but elytras don't, which is why the ultimate mob farm does not have an EMC value. So you're always going to have to hunt down elytras. Or you'll have to, in your own pack, you can insert an EMC value by editing the config files, but I'm not going to, because elytras are a core Minecraft item, so Project E could deal with these. Like, clearly the mod knows that they're there, and it chose not to because they're that rare, and it doesn't want you to be able to pop out 10 million of these, so... If that's the mod creator's intent, not the mod pack author, but the actual mod creator's intent, that in this already ridiculously overpowered mod, he doesn't want you to be able to create elytras infinitely, then, more power to him. I feel what he's saying. So yeah, you create one of these, you do exactly what I did here, have it output. So I'm gonna tear this one down basically, and then we'll go over it down here. So basically, let's say I wanted to set up diamonds on this one here, right? I'm basically just gonna pop this here, and I'm gonna pop this here, and I would put the lasso in it, but I'm worried about time. So on this one, you say, hey, I want you to output diamonds. That's what you're looking at. So every time it gets any kind of an input, it's gonna drop it here. Okay, that music was a little bit rough, but it got better. It's gonna put a diamond here, or any input here, and then it's gonna turn into diamonds over here, and then you're gonna wanna pull it out very quickly and put it in here. Now, just to, you know, make this happen, and knowing that it's going to be a quick process regardless, because there's only one item that's ever going to be exchanged truly, I'm going to use these. Now, ghasts are actually not the most ideal thing here. You'd want to put something that ideally only has like one drop. Ghasts, they drop 3 things, and one of those is not processable into these packs, so you're going to have some runoff here that you'll have to deal with if you did this long term. But like, I'm trying to think of what else. Because zombies have a lot of weird drops too. Let's look at tiers real quick, because I think this can show me. Yeah, this gets me into the mob drop thing, and then there's a way. There we go. All recipes for the mob drops. So if we look through here, llamas would be fine. Leather is a single item drop. Those don't have EMC values. So yeah, back to llamas again. Seagrass? So turtles would be okay. That's kind of mean, but you could. Vindicators, if you could capture a Vindicator, they drop emeralds with a rare chance. 0 to 1 killed by a player. Man, that makes me really want to go find a Vindicator. That's not that much more than a ghast tier, so honestly I'm fine. Witches would be great. Redstone dust, sticks, like all this different stuff that has, I mean, all these have EMC values, so they could all be processed in the machine. Evoker's not so good. Creepers are fine. Gunpowder goes in, no problem. Skeleton horses. Fire charges don't have an EMC value, which actually kind of surprises me. Zombie villagers drop all this stuff, but it does all have EMC values, so you're good there. But yeah, you basically look around and you're like, oh, this thing, slimes would be easy because slime has an EMC value, and just find something that only drops 1 or 2 things. Now, ghasts are right here, and it shows that they only drop ghast tiers and gunpowder, but I know that they also happen to drop the experience crystals. So yeah, you just set it up like this, and then I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and it's going to start immediately outputting for me. So you can see, if you just did it for a few seconds, this is the kind of drops that you're getting from it. You're getting 12 gunpowder, 27 of the experience confection, and then 8 of the ghast tiers. So you just set up a pipe in between it, put one of these up here, and then if we put this in, it'll start dropping stuff into it, but, or it won't? Why? Why wouldn't it? I mean, these clearly accept being automatically put into, because I have done that. Like, I have that going on over there. So it must just be these pipes. It doesn't like these pipes. Well, that's okay. That is okay. So, earlier, of course, we discussed how I have 2 controllers that run 2 different systems for me. This one is just for controlling like all of the machines and also my main storage unit. This one down here is just for controlling input of a couple of machines that I don't want tied to my main network. So you could do the same thing with these. Build yourself up another controller, have your own little private network down here that runs off of the power source that you already have going here, and then just have things automatically shifted in and out of stuff like that. That would probably be the best way to do this, honestly. And then you'd have exporters hooked up to these that automatically throw stuff into it with a high priority, so it would take from these first. And then basically just kind of like spread it out and round robin it from there. Let me. Can I do that quickly? I think I can. Not Project E. Oh, that's a creative controller. That's not what I'm looking for at all. Oh, right. It was this big process here to make one of these. Including a redstone singularity. Okay, so I can't quickly do that. Let me see if I can... Let me think about this for a second. Let's just try a different pipe and see if that solves our problem. So we'll put those back up. Did I save any of the pretty pipes? Like, that seems... Like, it's really only got to move a couple of things. That's the advanced fluid pipes. I do think I saved some of them, though. Maybe I just actually imported them into my system. I didn't. So what other ways do I got to move stuff? Because these have worked, like, most of the time. Large medical bandage. Export cable from the simple storage network. Item pipe from Quark. I mean, here's the thing, is that I did already do this. Like, I have explained this, right? Like, you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Basically, you just do this, but on a shorter scale. You have your mob farm input directly into your energy condenser, and then you have your energy condenser directly input into the quantum compressors. And then once it gets all of the materials into it, it'll just make the singularity. And then you do that 22 times. Or however many there is for EMC versus, you know, this. I'm getting yeses? Okay. Yeah, if you guys feel like I explained it already well enough, then I'm not... It would be, again, a really just time-consuming, because, like, I have the redstone. I could just make it. If they just had EMC values, I would just do it. But I don't want to spend any more time on this, so... I guess that's going to be it for me. If you have any other questions about the pack, or if you want to know something that I did, or if there's something that I didn't do that you're really curious how I would handle, feel free to shoot me a message. You can leave comments on the YouTube pages. I check those for every video still. You can also, you know, send me a question through Twitter or on Facebook. It's all there under the same names. But guys, I really appreciate you hanging out with me as long as you did. Like, this was very fun. I definitely enjoyed playing the pack. And I'll have to come up with something different for, you know, our streams from now on. But seriously, thank you. Thank you for playing along with me. And I will see